What you're looking at right now is the National Hurricane Center map. You can see we have newly formed Tropical Storm Emily around the eastern Caribbean, moving in obviously now from the Lesser Antilles. Maximum sustained winds currently, as the latest advisory, remain around, I believe, 40 miles an hour, with obviously higher gusts associated with some of the cluster of thunderstorms. This is pretty much moving off to the west and northwest. We'll obviously get more into detail with that in just a few minutes. You can see off to the east of Emily, we have a few tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa, not showing any signs of development. The models are not really latching onto anything developing, but it's a sign that we're getting into that time of the year where these multiple waves are starting to come off the coast of Africa, and they're far enough north in latitude, pretty much north of 10 degrees latitude, that we're going to continue to keep a closer eye on. Especially these waves that are recently coming off are looking pretty strong, and looks like the dust is trying to potentially limit some of the development, the thunderstorm development. But we're still going to keep an eye on them as they. Some sea storms have been coming off the coast of Africa, have survived the trip all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico. For example, Don and obviously Emily, both of them have developed from these waves. They're both waves off the coast of Africa. Don made it all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, which obviously made landfall right around southern Texas. Obviously did not do a lot for the drought. Produced some areas around an inch of rainfall, but that really didn't help at all. We're now keeping an eye on Emily now, which again, 40-mile-an-hour storm. Wasn't looking the best on satellite over the last few days, but it's finally got itself better organized. That's going to be something to keep an eye on for potentially some flooding over portions of the northeastern portion of the Caribbean. Also in the eastern Pacific, we're keeping an eye on Tropical Storm Eugene, which has winds over 100 miles an hour. This probably likely has a chance of becoming potentially a strong hurricane, potentially a major hurricane within the next several days. But good news is the path calls it. The National Hurricane Center is forecasting this to move generally out to sea, not to affect anyone, but it's close enough that this may generate some waves and maybe even some increased rip current risk over portions of the Mexico coast. And this may move just far enough to the northwest that we may have. This may increase some of the waves. Good news for surfers over portions of Baja California, maybe even the Southwest California coastline. And we're also watching there's a disturbance coming off the coast of Africa, which is right around here. The National Hurricane Center is giving it about a 20% chance of development. The upper air winds are not that favorable for it, and it's very close proximity to land. So development doesn't look too likely, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it as it is very close to the Mexican coast and may increase some of the rainfall and squally weather around that region. Here's a look at the latest visible imagery on Emily. You see as the sun has come up now, we're getting a better read on it, and you can see than it did over the last several days, organized easterly as it was running to a. But you can see the center of circulation to the west northwest is obviously very possible with it. You can see it's still keeping up with fanning upper air, that mid to upper air ridge, which is still keeping it from getting any dry air moving to it. And it's already getting pretty heavier rainfall with it, along with the British Virgin Islands. Tropical storm waters remain in effect for that area. Areas next in line are obviously Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. Now doesn't appear Puerto Rico's direct landfall with very close enough that you're going to experience tropical storm conditions coming up as here's a look at the latest projected from the National Hurricane Center right around the 11 p.m. time frame. As call system to begin to take a turn off to the northwest and to begin maybe even a northwest turn just south of Puerto Rico, but right around the Wednesday time frame of this potentially making landfall over portions of the Dominican Republic and then crossing back into the Bahamas. But the question is, will the storm survive going over that kind of terrain? I've done some research and I've learned that portions of the Dominican Republic have winds that have mountain peaks over 10,000 feet, and portions of Haiti have mountain peaks over 8 to 15,000 feet. And it appears there's a chance that Essie may get wiped out altogether. Some models want to stop running it as it gets around Haiti, possibly saying that this storm may collapse. That is a that is a possibility we're going to continue to monitor, but there is also a potential that this storm may survive the trip over Hispaniola and move back into the Bahamas as potentially remaining a tropical storm before beginning to get filled up potentially by a trough low pressure and just merge east of Florida back into the southeastern the coastline and then getting pulled out to sea in the long range models. You can see the track was shifted a little bit farther off to the west yesterday, was including a direct landfall potentially around the Miami area, but it appears as new guidance has come in, appearing that the storm may get sucked back out. But it's a pretty good definition that tropical storm watches and warnings will likely be issued later on for a good portion of the Bahamas will likely be issued under one. But still, interest along the Florida coastline still need to keep an eye on the system. Any variation in track and intensity could determine the future impacts of what you guys get. If it verges off a little, takes this western cone, that means if it stays weaker, it could take this western cone and look where it spells potentially a landfall on portions of Florida. But right now, the forecast is calling for this system to pretty much stay off land right now and obviously affect the Bahamas with squallier weather. But this may still be close enough that Florida needs to keep a close eye on all the way up to the coast of North Carolina. Even though this doesn't look like it's going to be a landfall around the Carolinas, it still is close enough that rip currents and obviously wave action will definitely be on the increase in rip currents. So once again, you need to stay out of the water starting right around Saturday. Here's a look at the shear map out of the University of Wisconsin, showing there's Emily, obviously right around here, dealing with pretty atmospheric conditions are pretty conducive. You see there is this blue, which is decreasing shear around 5 to 10 knots, which means there's not a lot of shear it's dealing with. It was dealing with some shear over eastern portions of east of the Leeward Islands. It was dealing with some shear, which was a significant reason of it not looking too good on satellite. But as it moves up to the west, you can see the shear is obviously decreasing, which means the conditions will look better for this system. The system will begin to have more overall atmospheric conditions looking more conducive for development, and that's why the National Hurricane Center is forecasting this system to potentially continue to intensify over the next several days, and once again possibly approaching 50 to maybe 55 miles an hour before it makes landfall around the Dominican Republic. Here's a look at the Canadian model right now. Sorry for the flash if you're seeing that on your screen, but the Canadian model has actually been the most aggressive with it. Surprised it was the first storm model that's developing. Let me put in motion. You can see it's pretty much in Republic, and then potentially going to the Eastern Gulf right around the handle. The Canadian model was the first one, and it's been shifting a lot. The models continue to shift with it, so don't get latched on the system coming into the Gulf. We're going to continue to monitor, but it's not looking 100% likely that this system will actually go into the coast. But that's keeps obviously right around this region. If there it is right there, moving just west of the Mexican needs to reach. This is obviously keeping a better ladder farther off, and then dissipating as it gets absorbed. Appears to be a trough to colder waters. I really don't see any on the model on Emily. So there's a potential it may actually lose it. There's right there. And then as it goes over Haiti, it doesn't really open it back up. So this has the potential to reemerge potentially into a chance may actually go back out to sea. So this actually maybe trying to emerge just something on early. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on as well. All in agreement of the storm making a landfall somewhere around Hispaniola, and the majority of them are around the Dominican Republic. Some of them actually, the interesting ones, some of them carry it along Hispaniola and then making a landfall again over portions of Cuba, the BAMS and Eclipse model. That would have verified this storm would not survive it. It would likely get torn apart over Cuba's mountains. If it didn't get killed by Haiti, it would have likely have gotten killed by Cuba's mountains, which are obviously very tall peaks as well. But you see, they're pretty much in consistency of carrying it off to the west northwest, and then a good handful of them, the majority of the models, keep it off of shore around the Bahamas and then turning back out to sea. Here's a look at the intensity models, carrying it once again, keeping it just above. Let's see here, right around tropical storm strength, right around 50, and then some of them strengthen up potentially to around 60 knots. So this could be a strong tropical storm. Some are saying maybe around 55 to 60 miles an hour. But this counts significantly how it survives over Haiti. These models will likely be a little bit too aggressive. I don't think it's going to be this high if it goes over Cuba, Haiti. It's probably going to be decreased a little bit. This may just be a minimal tropical storm as it exits off the coast of Haiti. As it gets torn apart by those mountains, this likely will significantly decrease to a tropical storm, even a weak tropical depression, as it gets off the coast of Africa. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Last but not least, here is the tropical storm path for Hurricane Eugene. Keeps it at a hurricane for the next several days before weakening as it moves into colder waters on Friday and then dissipating to a remnant low by Sunday. But once again, this storm has potential to become a a Category 3 hurricane before it dissipates. I can't rule out that potential because it's looking pretty impressive on overall the radar. So once again, here's a final look at Tropical Storm Emily. Once again, looking better and better on every visible we receive landfall. Hispaniola. So once again, if you live interest along Hispaniola,